was difficult for me to feel skilled at Photoshop in the beginning because I was unfamiliar with the program. It felt like learning a language that I didn't speak one word of. But the more fluent I became in Photoshop, the easier and quicker the process became. When you open Photoshop, the Tools panel appears on the left side of the screen. Your layers, along with adjustment tools, will go on the right side of the screen. I specifically highlighted the top 8 tools that I use by far the most in Photoshop. When it comes to compositing and masking layers, it's all about the brush tool. The brush tool is meant to paint on your image and also to erase part of your image when the layer mask is enabled. You need to create a layer mask on a layer by hitting the little circle within the square icon and then select the brush tool to erase and/or paint back in the layer. When you set your foreground color to black and your background color to white, that means you're erasing away at the layer. And when you switch the paint from white paint over black paint, that means you're painting back in the layer. Here's an example of using the brush tool. So right now I'm erasing away at the layer with the layer mask. Now I'm painting back in after switching the colors, which I'm constantly doing in any Photoshop edit, especially a composite. You must have your layer mask clicked on in order to paint away or paint back in the layer. You can also access the brush tool by typing B on the keyboard. When the brush tool is selected, you can adjust the size, shape, hardness, smoothness of the brush edge, and opacity of the brush tool. The brush tool is the closest digital equivalent to using a paintbrush. Curves allow you to color correct your images. Curves adjust the lighting, contrast, tones, and colors of your images. If you want to get good with Photoshop, you'll need to master curves. When done right, curves gives a really cool, retro, artistic feel to your images. Click Command and M to bring up the Curves tool. I would recommend using curves on a separate layer so you can make changes to that layer with a layer mask or even delete the layer later if need be. This video shows what the curves adjustment tool looks like. You see a line within a box which is angled at 45 degrees. Depending on where you place your dots, where you put your dots on the curves line determines the tones, brightness, and coloring of your image. I also use the Curves tool in Premiere Pro and After Effects to edit the tones and colors of my video edits. Notice the RGB drop-down menu on the screen. Select the red, green, and blue channels to adjust the red, green, and blue coloring and shadows and brightness and highlights of the overall image. The Liquify tool allows you to warp and shape your images. If the hair of your subject is too flat, you can use the Liquify tool to push the hair up. Another example of the Liquify tool is to add curves and shape to a woman's body. I would add more curves to my subjects and my fine art pieces, not because I thought they needed to be slimmer, but because I wanted the contours of the lines to look beautiful and painterly-like. I've used the Liquify tool by far the most to add more shape to my long dresses in Photoshop. Liquify will allow you to stretch out the dress, make it longer, and add curves to the lines to add more shape to the dress. You can use the Liquify tool for things like opening and stretching eyes to reshape the eyes, things like that, but you have to be careful not to go overboard. I use a Lasso tool for so many things, especially when it comes to creating Photoshop composites. The Lasso tool creates selections that you can copy and paste. I'll use the Lasso tool to draw a circle around a selection of a photo I want to copy and paste onto another photo. Drawing a circle with the Lasso tool will display the marching ants around the selection, and voila, you have a new selection, which you can copy and paste or transform by hitting Command T to rotate it or make it larger, things like that. You can access the Lasso tool by typing L on your keyboard. I use the clone stamp tool for everything. It's like the most important tool of my life. The clone stamp tool allows you to paint one part of your photo over another. This is most commonly used for duplicating or removing objects, like something in the grass, for example, that you don't want in the photo. The clone stamp tool is very similar to the spot removal tool. You can access the clone tool by hitting S on your keyboard. With the clone stamp tool selected, hover your cursor over the area of your image that you wish to duplicate. Hold down the Option key on a Mac keyboard or Alt on a PC keyboard and click on the image. Then move your cursor to the new area of your image where you wish to duplicate the original portion of the image. Click and paint with your cursor, and the portion of your image that you originally sampled will appear in your new area of your image. The clone stamp tool takes a bit of practice to master, but it's extremely useful. You can also use it to remove blemishes or spots on a person's face. The clone stamp tool is also used in After Effects. The Selective Color Adjustment tool is located on the right side of the Photoshop program. The tool is an icon that looks like an envelope and is on the third line under Adjustments. The Selective Color Adjustment tool is a nice way to boost the colors in your images by applying percentages of color. Whenever I use this tool, it reminds me of an artist mixing colors on a canvas. It's very powerful and very effective for creating great looks in your images. The Dodge tool brightens certain areas of your image. So when you select the Dodge tool, just hover your mouse over the area you would like to brighten and click it. Keep in mind that you can control the smoothness and the hardness of the Dodge tool brush so that the lines are either really jagged or really smooth, and you can also change the size of the brush. The Hue Saturation tool is a simple tool that allows you to adjust all of the colors, hues, and lightness of your images. The Hue Saturation tool is located under Adjustments on the right side of the Photoshop program in the second row. Once you click this tool icon, it will automatically add a new layer on top of your background layer. You can make changes to this new layer later if need be with a layer mask. Before you go running to the Hue Saturation tool, I would highly recommend using the Selective Color tool instead to edit the colors of your images. I am completely self-taught. I know Photoshop well because I practiced it over and over for the past 8.5 years. Even when I have taken a break in the past, it always calls me back for more. When I began to create videos, I realized the Photoshop process was extremely similar to the VideoShop process. I fell in love with VideoShop and have converted my energy into making cool video edits as of recently. One of my goals is to become a tour photographer where I can put my photography, Photoshop, and VideoShop skills to use. In the beginning, I was really nervous to go out in public and practice and take photos, but after a while, it sort of empowers you and gives you confidence, and you grow in ways that you don't even realize. And this entire video tutorial was actually verbatim some of the text from my book. So my book covers Photoshop tools, the Photoshop program, Lightroom, After Effects, Premiere Pro, all of that kind of stuff. Just shoot me a DM or email me at mandynikon@gmail.com if you're interested in the book. I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe. All that stuff would really help me out a lot. I hope that you guys are having a very productive week, and stay cool.